This is part 3 of quotes from the GOATs of filmmaking. If you don't know what GOAT is, it's greatest of all time. These are quotes from filmmakers that I love, and I hope they inspire you as they've inspired me. My name is Jake. If you don't know me, my name is Jake Isham. I'm a filmmaker and a photographer, writer, director, done over 1 billion views online, and recently I just completed making 15 short films in the last 4 months. The most honest form of filmmaking is to make a film for yourself. Peter Jackson. To make a film, it takes so much time, blood, sweat, and tears. You have to fight for it. You have to die for it. You gotta work so long, and it takes time, and you're literally taking years to make a film. So you have to make it for yourself. Filmmaking can give you everything, but at the same time, it can take everything from you. Alejandro Inarritu. This goes hand in hand with what I was just saying, is that it does take everything from you. You have to give it your all. I've recently been going on a binge of watching behind the scenes of Mission Impossible series and what Tom Cruise does to make those movies. And it was interesting seeing Rebecca Ferguson talk about how she was okay with being killed off, and how she kind of wanted it was because those films take so much, and she was like, I was not able to do other films that I wanted to do because I had to be on call for Mission Impossible. And that's on the acting side, much less the directing side or the producing side. It's like, it takes so much from you to do that. You look at Sean Baker talked about it in a recent award speech, was like, it takes 3 years to make a movie. It's like you need, and he was talking about how the system needs to figure out how to make more money and how to rearrange, making sure that directors are properly compensated for it, especially indie directors. And because it takes so much to make a movie. To be a filmmaker, you have to lead. You have to be psychotic in your desire. To be a filmmaker, you have to lead. You have to be psychotic in your desire to do something. People always like the easy route. You have to push very hard to get something unusual, something different. Danny Boyle. The greatest films, in my opinion, are the films that we've never seen before. Are the films that you go, oh, that was cool. And the whole goal of a director is to really push the boundary of what films and what is being communicated. And so you're gonna have to push people in to do things that they might not be comfortable with and make them comfortable with it. And I say this not in a bad way of like, you have to convince them to do, but it's to push the boundaries of what is normal. Push the boundaries of what, is expected, and go, wow, to really create that entertainment value for your audience, and to really take that care for your audience. If you want a happy ending, that depends, of course, on where you stop your story. Orson Welles. You look at the basic structure of all films, and yes, you could say there's a 3-act structure, but if the film ended at the end of Act 2, that's the lowest point for your character, rather than at the end of Act 3, which is the end of the climax. What if you kept going past that? Life goes up and down as you keep living life. You have highs and you have lows. And so just where you end your story is either at the high or the low. So it's a very interesting perspective of how do you want to end your film, and what do you want people to walk away with? What is the final message? Because that last moment and how you make them feel at that last moment is what they'll walk away with. I love movies with spectacle, but spectacle can be a performance. It doesn't have to be a creature. J.J. Abrams. You look at some of the most impactful moments that we've watched in cinema, and I think it's some of those moments where what comes to mind immediately is the end of Training Day. That performance, you just kind of go, wow, and you're floored. You look at performances from the greats like Marlon Brando to obviously Denzel to, you kind of name it across the boards, Viola Davis, Meryl Streep. There's these amazing performances, and that's what really leaves you. It's not always, as J.J. Abrams says, it's not always the big monster. It's not the big creature. It's those moments that resonate with an audience. Almost anything can be justified as a style of filmmaking if it works. Doug Liman. I love this from him because he is definitely somebody who created a whole style of action films with Bourne Identity. That whole shaky cam, decade plus of action movie shot that way, that was all him. It's so fascinating because you look at the styles of films and what can be different, what can be, you know, what can you get away with? And as long as it communicates what you want it to communicate to your audience, and as long as it creates that emotional impact with the audience, then it's all justified. It all makes sense. Create your own visual style. Let it be unique for yourself and yet identifiable to others. Orson Welles. I love this because you look at the great directors, they have a unique, identifiable style. You instantly know a Scorsese movie. You know a Tarantino movie. You know a Christopher Nolan movie. Like, they have those styles that they go, wow, okay. I mean, one of the most obvious examples is Wes Anderson. It's a very unique, identifiable style that really is your style of filmmaking. If you compromise what you're trying to do a little bit, you'll end up compromising a little bit more the next day or the next week. And when you lift your head, you're suddenly really far away from where you're trying to go. Spike Jonze. Filmmaking is a compromise. You're gonna have to compromise regardless because of the nature of the craft and the nature of making films. That it is a group collaborative effort and you have a lot of people when making films, but you have to know what you're compromising on and when to not compromise. Otherwise, as he says, you're going to just keep moving away and away and away and away from your vision. So the more you can really just know what your North Star is and get everybody on that page going towards that North Star, the more successful your film will be and the more true to your vision you'll be. The enemy of art is the absence of limitations. Orson Welles. As much as we always want an unlimited budget, we want to be able to shoot anywhere we want, however we want, I love this quote because those restrictions, those barriers, those stops is what produces that magic. One of the most classic, iconic stories is Jaws. The mechanical shark was not working. And so they had to be creative. And it gave us that suspense of not seeing the shark from the beginning and just going, oh, what is it? What's going on? Till eventually reveal the shark. But that was never what it was meant to be. But because of those limitations, it bred brilliance. Time and time again, every movie has a story like this. So embrace the limitations and figure out how to be creative solving those and working around those limitations. I don't believe that the public knows what it wants. This is the conclusion that I've drawn from my career. Charlie Chaplin. The best films are made by artists, not by studio executives trying to figure out what the audience wants. And it is truly the visionaries, it is truly the true artists that push the boundaries and go, oh, here's this idea, let's try it. And if it were made up by committee, if it were made up by survey of, then that's where you see these trends of saturation. Well, superhero films are doing well, let's make more superhero films. Let's make more, this film did well, so let's make more of these types of films. And those films were never as good, typically, as the person who first did it, because they captured lightning in a bottle and they just did something new and different. All the good ideas start out as bad ideas. That's why it takes so long. Steven Spielberg. Writing is rewriting. Screenwriting is rewriting. That's the classic saying, and it just takes time to sit with it, develop it, to work it, and it takes that team effort to really make a film and to keep massaging it, to looking over it. Okay, great. Hollywood is, that's why Hollywood so much of the time does so many reshoots is because they'll put up a film and see how an audience likes it, see where it works, see where it doesn't work, and they go, oh, we missed that, okay, great. Let's go fix that, let's go put that up. And you keep putting it out there until you get the right piece of art. Filmmaking is the ultimate team sport. Michael Keaton. I completely agree with this because from my observation and having friends across so many different art forms, music you can do by yourself, fine art you can do by yourself, photography you can do by yourself, all of these art forms you can do by yourself. You can't make a film by yourself. You really can't. You minimally need someone behind the camera and in front of the camera. And if you really want to take it at the top level, because there are so many responsibilities and jobs within making a film. From pre-production, throughout production, to post-production, there's so many jobs that it is a team sport. And finally, I don't try to guess what a million people will like. It's hard enough knowing what I like. John Huston. I think that's been kind of a consistent theme in the quotes for this video is, make what you like, because it's hard enough to make it. It's hard enough to know what you want to make. It's definitely, I know, something that I've struggled with. It's like, what are the stories I want to tell? And the only solution I've come up with finding out what the stories I want to tell is just to write more stories and then go, oh, that's something I want to take the time to make. That's something I'm willing to push through people's no's, push through people's criticisms, because it's a story that I'm like, that's fun. That's something I would want to watch in theaters, something I'd want to spend time to watch on Netflix, you name it. If I'm going to give my, 2.5 hours to that, but even as short as 1 minute, what is something that I would enjoy? With that, I hope these quotes inspired you. Go out, go make some art, because the world needs it more than ever.